Hey everybody, how's it? Aloha, this is Jeeps here on Patreon version of the Decomposer Lounge. As always, want to thank all of you for hanging out. I know some of you only come for a month, a one-time contribution. I can't tell you how much that means to me that you would dedicate that. And then for those of you who've been hanging out longer than 1 month, I don't have a lot of words. Funny enough, right? Because that's all I do is talk. Anyhow, I'm starting to run through the list here of people who've left suggestions for me as I kind of still cherry pick. If I haven't gotten to yours, can you please send me a comment and just send the link in there. It makes it a lot easier for me. So whether you comment on this or maybe just send me a message, just leave the link there because then it populates and I can drag that into a folder. Makes my life easier. I'm getting better at this, you know, but I'm still just old Bobo surfer musician, and you know, I definitely am not lazy, but sometimes which folder, where did I put it? I need my ginkgo. Anyhow, so today from Patreon members, I'm going to be doing Opeth, Face of Melinda. And my journey with Opeth, I think I've had 4 or 5 songs on my other channel, and I think I've done one here as well. But I just really love their music. Just really reminds me of some of the roots, prog rock kind of stuff from the 70s kind of vibe that I'm about, just from my own soundtrack of life. All right, guys, let's do this together. This is Opeth, Faces of Melinda. Remember, what I do on Patreon stays on Patreon. All right.
The turnstile beckons a damsel fair. Face of Melinda neath blackened hair. No joy would flicker in her eyes. Brooding sadness came to her eyes.
You know, automatically, this is apparently a remaster, so I think this was from 1999 and remastered in 2008. I did a little bit of research on it. You know, one of the things that I love about this kind of music, and when I listen to this, I just really feel the band and the intimacy in the recording. And what I'm talking about is I want to talk about the acoustic guitars on this stop. The opening, it sounded like maybe it was 24 bars, perhaps, of an opening. They're letting us really kind of glide into the rhythm pattern and stuff. But the notes and the voicings of the chords are very wide open, and they're very crispy. There's a little bit of open note hammer on stuff that's going on a little bit, or sometimes if you hit, let's say you're on the 2nd string on the B and you're up on the 5th fret, and that would be E, and then there's an open E. A lot of times that kind of B, E hammer, open E kind of sound kind of gives it kind of a wide 12-string kind of vibe to it, but obviously it's not. Another thing that I love about the guitar arrangement is that that opening arrangement has a little bit of a meandering melody to it that's being played, but when the vocals come in, it sounds like it's the same exact chords, but they lightened up on the voicing on that so that the vocals can fit in. Another thing I want to talk about briefly is listening to that kind of brushy sound. I don't know, you know, if it's coming from the ride of the, you know, the drummers playing this brushy kind of a sound in the ride, but I love the sound of the snare, the way it's being played, and the ambience on that. This whole thing has got kind of that hall, long hall or long kind of gothic chamber kind of vibe to it. and I really love it. And then after that verse, they went back into another instrumental breakdown, and then there's an electric guitar that's holding this repetitive melody. Is what I love about this kind of stuff, because it's very seducing. It's seductive. You know, lay back. And then finally, I would be completely bobo if I didn't say anything about how wonderful yet how difficult it is to play a fretless bass. And that fretless bass has a different kind of ring to it. It has a different kind of flex in your soul and in your heart that you don't cognitively look out for that vibe, but the way that the string resonates and it sounds, and the kind of sound that comes out of a fretless opposed to a fretted bass is uniquely different. And it plays on harmonics as well, which we'll get into a little more, but I wanted to kind of glam on that. So let me go back a little bit. Let's keep going.
Words would falter to a tone. Failure had passed the stepping stone. She'd sworn her vows to another. This is when no one will bother. And conceded pain and crumbling earth. A heart of God upon the earth, found where she sacrificed her ways. That hollow love in her face.
Wow, do they really like to mess around with modulation resets? And you know, it feels like it steps up and it modulates. They use it seemingly would seem like a chord or something that's out of the scale to kind of play on the outside, and then drop you back in. It kind of gives you a little bit of that kind of, I guess, you know, this song, though I'm not really listening to the lyrics, but I am catching it, is kind of a call to, you know, it sounds like If I Had a Second Chance or something like that, but it gives you that kind of disjointed kind of uneasy feeling as well with that kind of a chord change. Love the harmonies also that are being sung through here in this little section, or it's very haunting and stuff. So let's just keep going. I just needed to stop on that really quick.
East of fluttering sight, this day fell, the darkness night.
that catch me off guard, and then I got completely soaked in it and stuff. Now, once again, did you hear that kind of herky-jerky modulation they did when they go back into the vocals? So when the drums comes in, the drum comes in after this I think they repeated this pattern four times on the acoustic guitar before that power came in. Very, dare I say, chromatic-ishy, you know, half-step movements and stuff that were just really, I myself I don't have the intense first-time listen depth of knowledge as some of the other people that do their theory breakdowns and stuff like that, but that was such beautiful free-form composition going on there. And then they hit us with, you know, the full power of the band now, and sounds like the snare, even though it's powered up, kind of maintained the reverb on it. It kind of splashes really kind of wide and stuff, and now it's more of a wall of sound. But the when it all comes in, they have that riff that's being played without the vocals on it. Then the vocals come in and it drops like a half step, like a complete different modulation, and then resumes back into that riff pattern or that the progressive chord pattern that they were playing. And I just love every bit of that. And you know, that's what I love about these first-time listens. You know, I just kind of, it really reminds me of more of a fusion style of composition, which kind of goes back to my days with my uncle's bands and stuff like that in the 70s, that it was, you know, hardcore Latin fusion stuff where they would do that kind of composition and then kind of herky-jerky you with a change, a step down or step up in the change in a modulation and stuff. So it kind of, it feels home to me, this particular track, because it's delivering to me a lot of that, like, same feelings that I got when I would listen to my uncle's work way back in the day. I really love the way the composition kind of fades out on that particular pattern. One of the things about listening to that, number one, is remember what I said earlier, because it sounded like when the snare came and they kept the reverb kind of as a set reverb as the opening, where it sounded like a very light, you know, kind of a snare use at the very beginning of the song. And so then when it all cleared out and it was just the acoustic guitar and the drums, and you could really hear the snare and just how much of a reverb is on the snare. And also, I noticed there's a reverb on the kick, which is used for textures. Obviously, you know, dynamics, depending on what you're trying to achieve, the kind of music you're trying to produce and stuff like that. Reverb on a kick is not widely used. A lot of times, you know, engineers might rely on the room sound, you know, and not necessarily add to. So many different options engineers have to do things, you know, or it could be relying on a room sound with overheads and all kinds of stuff, but then you put a blanket over the kick with one mic. There's so many different techniques, but the drum sounded great. You know what, another thing I want to bring up before I dig out is with the guitar playing, one of the things that I really enjoy listening to is, like, there was, you know, all the acoustic work at the beginning and everything. The fact that it's either, sounds like it's live doubled. In other words, it's not doubled through any kind of a plug-in that nowadays you can get. You know, you have plugins in your digital audio workstations that you can actually buy to take a mono signal, run it through a stereo doubler, and go hard left or right, or kick the panning, and it sounds like you got a really, like, maybe 2 mics on your guitar. In this case, what I love about what I'm hearing is it's 2 passes, so it's being played on this side and then played again, doubled live on the other side. And what I love about that is even if they're hitting the notes identical velocity in the exact same time, there's always these little slight nuances, whether it's a finger on a string or a slide. You know, you might hear a little slide on this side that didn't catch on this side and stuff, and that gives the lift for me, you know, to the next level of it being raw, organic, musicianship, band, intimate production kind of a thing. There's, you know, I have no problem with the really heavily perfected and edited kind of things where people will align things up and cut and paste and stuff, but I prefer listening to it this way, because then you can really feel the musicians expressing themselves through the instruments, and that's really super important and stuff. And once again, that bass sound was just absolutely beautiful, and the vocal, everything about this track was great. Thank you very much. You know who you are, who suggested this to me. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out here, Patreon, like I do. I'm going to cut through that list and still keep going through. Remember, if I do, sometimes I'll do your song here on Patreon. Sometimes I'll do it on the main channel. And once again, if I have not gotten to your song yet, do me a favor, put the YouTube link or the Spotify link inside a comment, so it's easier for me to store on my new database, okay? All right, guys, listen, have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for hanging out here, and I'll see you back on the main channel. All right. Take care. All right.